Cass and I had been together for 11 years. By the end, we were the kind of couple that argued about whose turn it was to be tired. It wasn't dramatic. No affair, no screaming matches, just a slow leak. The kind you don't notice until the tire's flat. We'd sit on opposite ends of the same couch with our phones, close enough to touch, and not touch. Two people who'd quietly forgotten they were supposed to be together. So when the lease on our apartment came up, Cass found a place 3 hours out, past the last town with a stoplight, past the last bar of cell signal, an old farmhouse, peeling white paint, a wraparound porch that sagged on one corner. The listing called it a chance to slow down and reconnect. I should have heard it. Reconnect. Like we were a call that kept dropping. But the rent was almost nothing, and I was so tired of fighting about being tired. So, I said yes. The house sat at the end of a long gravel road with no neighbors in sight. Behind it, the land sloped down to a pond, small, still, ringed with cattails. The water so dark it looked less like water and more like a hole. The realtor told us it was spring-fed, said it never froze, not even in January, because something warm came up from underneath. I remember thinking that was a strange thing to put in the sales pitch. We spent the first week the way everybody does, unpacking boxes, finding which outlets worked and which just clicked, learning the sounds the house made after dark, and there were a lot of them. The pipes knocked. The boards upstairs settled like slow footsteps crossing a room nobody was in. Cass joked that the place was digesting us. I laughed. I want that written down somewhere. The last time I really laughed. I was making a joke about being eaten. And things were good. For a while. Better than they'd been in years. Out there, with no signal, no feeds, nothing to disappear into. We had to actually look at each other again. We cooked real dinners. We talked until midnight about nothing. One night, we carried a blanket down to the edge of the pond and laid our backs down counting satellites, her head on my chest, my hand in her hair. And I felt like I found something I'd been missing so long. Something that I stopped believing was even real. I felt close to her. I keep coming back to that night because I think that's when it started. Not the pond. I don't believe the pond did anything to us. I think it was the closeness itself that did it. I think something out there had been patient for a very long time, waiting for two people to want each other again. And that night, finally, we rang the bell. We fell asleep holding hands. In the morning, we couldn't let go. I want to be honest about how small it was at first, how easy to explain away. We woke up tangled together, her hand in mine, palm against palm. When I went to pull away, there was a tug, that exact feeling of a bandage stuck to skin. The half second of resistance before it peels, a little pinch. Cass made a soft sound, and we both looked down at the same time. Where our hands met, the skin had joined, just a seam of it, pink and shining, running between the heels of our palms, like two candles left too long against a warm stove. We slept weird, I told myself. We sweated in the night. Skin does that. It gets soft. It sticks together. I gave a hard pull and it came apart with a sting and a thin bright line of blood drawn across both palms, his and hers. We stared at the matching cuts. Then, Cass laughed, too quick, and said something about how we needed to trim our nails, and we went and made coffee. And I told myself I'd already forgotten it. I hadn't. I just put it in the drawer where you keep things that you're not ready to look at. It happened again 2 nights later, but worse. This time it was her shoulder and the inside of my arm, where we'd slept pressed against each other. A patch the size of a silver dollar, fused completely smooth. No seam this time, no line at all, just one unbroken run of skin going from her body into mine, as though neither of us had ever begun or ended anywhere. Pulling apart took both of us, braced and counting to 3. It made a sound. I'm not going to describe the sound. We didn't talk about it afterward. We just drove 40 minutes to the nearest store and bought the longest body pillow they had. And that night, we laid it down the center of the bed like a soft white wall between 2 countries. In the morning, the pillow was on the floor, and we were wound around each other so completely, it was like we'd poured into the bed as one thing and left to set. Here's the thing nobody warns you about denial. It isn't that you can't see what's happening. You see it perfectly. You just keep reaching for the one explanation that lets you close your eyes again. Maybe we're sleepwalking and we don't know it. Maybe it's the well water, some mineral in it, reacting with our skin. Maybe it's stress. People's bodies do strange things under stress. So Cass started sleeping in the spare room at the end of the hall, with the door shut. And I'd lie alone in our bed and listen to the house knock and breathe. After an hour, every time, I'd feel it again. A pull. I don't have a better word. Low in my chest, behind the breastbone. A deep, steady ache that got worse the longer she stayed away. Like a held breath that never gets to let go. Like the worst moment of a goodbye stretched out across hours. I'd grip the edge of the mattress and whisper to myself that it was just anxiety. Just my heart. Just nerves. Then one night, it got so bad I genuinely couldn't breathe, and I got up and went down the dark hall, and I found Cass already standing in the open doorway of the spare room, both hands pressed flat against her own chest, not making any sound at all. "Don't make me ask," she said. I didn't. I crossed the hall and got into the bed beside her, and the relief was so complete. It felt like being forgiven for something that I hadn't known I'd done. We didn't bother with the pillow. In the morning, the skin along our left sides had knit itself together from hip to ribs, and when I sat up, she sat up with me. At the exact moment in the exact same motion. Because the truth was, we didn't have a choice about it anymore. We tried to fix it. I want you to know that. We didn't just lie down and let it take us. We drove an hour to a clinic in the nearest real town. Slowly, both of us twisted half sideways in the seats because the seams down our sides wouldn't let us face forward. And here's the part I can't stop thinking about. The whole drive there, it felt better. The closer we stayed, the quieter the pull went. The thing wanted us together, and it rewarded us for it. And some old animal part of me, God, it was grateful for that relief. The doctor's face went gray and then white. He used words like conjoined and referral, and I've never seen this in my life. He brought a scalpel to the seam to take a small sample, and the instant the blade parted the skin, the two of us screamed. One scream, the same note, out of 2 throats, and the cut sealed itself shut before I could even lift the blade away. It healed in front of him, faster than he could cut it open. He told us very quietly to leave. His hands were shaking. I think part of him was afraid of catching it. I almost laughed at that. The only way to catch this thing is to love somebody for 11 years. That night, I went to the garage and got the hacksaw down off the wall. I'm not going to walk you through it. I'll only tell you that we tried. 2 of us taking turns, both of us sobbing. The teeth of the blade set against the place where she stopped being herself and started being me. And I'll tell you That flesh grown that close doesn't want to be two things ever again. Every cut we made closed faster than we could open the next one. The blood was ours. There was no telling whose. And somewhere in the midst of it, Cass closed her hand over my wrist, the saw still gripped in it, and she looked at me and said, "Stop. Maybe it's all right. Maybe this is what we always wanted." And the part I will never forgive myself for, the part I can't get out from under. For one full second, I agreed with her. After that, I stopped being able to keep the days straight, so I'll just give you the order it happened in. The hands went first. Not a seam anymore. The fingers themselves, hers laced through mine, and then simply not coming apart at the knuckle. The webbing climbing up between them like wax sliding down a candle. By the second morning, I couldn't find where her ring finger ended. By the third, there was nothing left to find. Then, the arms, the whole length of them, the bone inside each one drawing toward the other until her elbow and mine were a single hinge. I could feel it when it bent. One joint. The two of us using it. I want to tell you about the night the rib cages closed, because it was the worst of it. We were lying on our sides, facing each other, the way you do in the first month of knowing someone and almost never do again. And I felt my chest begin to lean, not me leaning it. And I felt my chest begin to lean, not me leaning it, the cage of it, tilting toward hers on its own. The way two halves of a book fall shut when you stop holding them open. The skin met first and went quiet, then a low grinding as the bone under it found her bone, then heat, then the worst thing, the thing I still can't set down. I felt my own heart slow down to go looking for hers. It found her pulse in the dark and fell into the step with it. And then there was no her pulse and my pulse left to keep in step. There was one, going steady in the middle of us. And I understood that I would never again feel a heartbeat that belonged to only me. Our faces were the last thing it pulled together. I'll keep most of that to myself. I'll only say there's a particular horror in watching someone you love come toward you across the pillow in the dark, slow, no expression at all, because the part of her that knew how to smile had already crossed over into the part of me that used to. We couldn't stand after that. We moved across the farmhouse floor on whatever limbs were left to us. One slow, heavy thing wearing the both of us, tipping over the boxes we never finished unpacking. I'm writing this on her phone, while there's still an I here to do the writing. That's the only reason it exists. There isn't going to be much more of it. It comes in the way sleep does. Not all at once, just a softening, a not minding. Her thoughts are down in mine now like dye let into water, and I can't always tell which color was me to begin with. I reach for the word I, and my hand keeps coming back holding we. We can't remember which of us liked coffee. We can't remember. No, I can't remember the sound of my own name in my own mouth. It doesn't hurt. That's the part you won't believe. It's warm in here, and it's quiet. And there's no more arguments about whose turn it is to be tired. The pool is gone. There's nothing left to pull. We're already where it wanted us, and I should be screaming, but I am not. I keep reaching for a reason to be afraid, and her hands keep folding mine shut around the quiet, and it's so warm, and something's coming up slow from underneath, the way the man said the water did, the one who sold us the... We are not two anymore. We're sorry about the mess. We feel much better now. There's so much room out here. The water never freezes. There's room for you, and for whoever it is you reach for in the dark. Bring them. We'll be so close.